was discovered, and it's getting a lot of controversy, lots of different opinions on both sides of the U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, having a phone call with a Russian senior diplomat where he's basically giving advice on how Putin can talk to Trump to negotiate and come to a deal between the Russia-Ukraine war. Trump was also informed about this, and this is what he had to say when asked about it by the press. Take a listen to this.
They're losing too many people.
Have you heard this audio that Bloomberg has of Witkoff coaching the Russians on how to appeal to you?
Well, I haven't heard it, no, but that's a standard thing, because he's got to sell this to Ukraine. He's got to sell Ukraine to Russia. That's what a deal maker does. You got to say, look, they want this. You got to convince them with this. That's a very standard form of negotiation. I haven't heard it, but I heard it was standard negotiation. And I would imagine he's saying the same thing to Ukraine, because each party has to give and take.
So you're not worried that he's too pro-Russian?
So there you go. Trump didn't seem bothered by it at all. A lot of people are saying he's being treasonous to Trump. Of course, the people that are saying that seem to be a bit more on the left, that are very that just harbor a lot more anti-Russia sentiment and seem to be wanting the war to prolong, rather than more on the right, who are just sick of giving aid to Ukraine and really just want to reel things back and get this over with. That's just how it seems from an overall standpoint. Glenn Greenwald commented, let me zoom in on this so you guys can see the screen better. Glenn Greenwald stated, the world's dumbest people are beginning to question this. The world's dumbest people spent last night accusing Steve Witkoff of treason for his talks with Russia to end the war. The problem for them is that U.S. foreign policy isn't determined by Bill Kristol or Michael McFowle. It's determined by the elected president, Donald Trump, who campaigned on a vow to end the war in Ukraine. Trump said Witkoff is doing the job he gave him. That's the opposite of treason. I'm going to go ahead and read a few of these transcripts for you guys, and you can make the decision on whether or not you think it's anything bad. Honestly, the way I read it, it seems like he's just coaching the Russian diplomat on how to have a productive conversation with Donald Trump. I think, like Donald Trump said in this case, they're probably informing the Ukrainians on how to have a positive conversation with Donald Trump as well. I would hope so. That's to me, that seems pretty standard. But anyways, let's just see. Find the leaker and fire them immediately. No excuses. The anonymous leaker is a national security risk. And here's just some of the transcript. Let me just go ahead and read this to you guys. Let me increase the screen. Honestly, it's going to be too difficult for you guys to see anyways. Let me just read it. Yuri, here's what I do. My recommendation. Yes, please, says Yuri. Steve Witkoff, I would make the call and just reiterate that you congratulate the president on this achievement, that you supported it, that you respect that he is a man of peace, and you're just really glad to have seen it happen. So I would say that. I think from that, it's going to be a really good call. Regarding Gaza, he's basically saying the best way to have a conversation with Donald Trump is by beginning to congratulate him on the peace deal in Gaza. Of course, just based on Donald Trump's personality, once you really start to appease him and make Donald Trump give him an ego boost, it really starts things off good with Donald Trump. I feel like that's pretty obvious. Because let me tell you what I told the president. I told the president that the Russian Federation has always wanted a peace deal. That's my belief. I told the president I believe that. And I believe the issue is that we have two nations that are having a hard time coming to a compromise. When we do, we're going to have a peace deal. I'm even thinking that we may set out a 20-point peace proposal like we did in Gaza. We put a 20-point Trump plan together. That was a plan for peace. And I'm thinking maybe we could do the same with you. And it goes on. And the Russian diplomat says, thank you. I think that's a great point. I agree with you that he will congratulate. He will say that Mr. Trump is a real peace man and so on. And this is really how the entire transcript goes. He's basically giving him some advice, telling him what to say to have a good conversation with Trump. Now, we don't know what Steve Witkoff is saying to the other side. We don't know what conversations are being had on the other side. For all we know, the exact same conversations could be had on the other side, or maybe they're a lot worse. I mean, we know that Trump didn't have a great meeting at the Oval Office with Zelensky months back, we'll see how. We don't know what their relationship is like behind the scenes now. Obviously, the Trump administration is still backing Ukraine. So whoever did leak the call, like Glenn Greenwald said, it's still there's a huge national security risk there. I truly don't understand how Bloomberg was able to get a hold of this transcript. I don't understand how the media works in this respect. Does Bloomberg have its own private investigators? Is somebody at the NSA, the CIA, whatever, going to Bloomberg and leaking it just to cause more problems? Are the Russians leaking it? Are the Ukrainian intelligence leaking it? We really don't know. I feel like things like this are more so leaked within the House. I feel like it's something happening inside the House where this sort of stuff gets out into the public. Regardless, it's out now. And there's a lot of blowback on both sides. So let me just go ahead and read to you guys and show you what other people are saying in support, or others are saying in approval of it. The determination of this leak, if it was inside the United States intelligence system, could be done in a very short order. Those desiring perpetual war with Russia seek only to benefit themselves. The day we can fully trust each other is the day we can achieve peace on Earth. Let's find these leakers, past and present, while simultaneously restoring trust between great nations, and let's fight as hard for peace as those who want to perpetuate this idiotic war. Glenn Greenwald, thanks for reminding people of the crimes committed against me. Still no one held accountable. Donald Trump, you need to get control of this issue ASAP. You have some around you who are not to be trusted. Sorry, that is simply the hard truth. U.S. lawmakers are calling for Steve Witkoff to be removed from Ukraine war negotiations. The demand follows Bloomberg's publication of his transcript conversation with Russian representative. Republican Congressman Don Bacon said Witkoff is completely on Russia's side and cannot be trusted. He called for the special envoy to be fired, saying Witkoff has discredited himself. Could a paid Russian agent do any worse? He should be fired. Again, we really don't know. Maybe Steve Witkoff is actually completely a douchebag to the Ukrainians and really giving them the cold shoulder. We really don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Or maybe he's actually giving them the same sort of appeasement and cozying them up and giving pointers on how to have a good conversation with Trump. I think if you were actually wanting to come to a peace deal, if that's actually what Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump and whoever else are actually aiming for, then I would assume they're trying to cozy up to both sides behind closed doors and make each side think that they're on their side. That's what I would assume. Now, if it was a leak within the administration, or I would think the leak would actually come from something like the CIA or the quote deep state, which really is the pro-war people that really want to continue to have this perpetuate. So to me, it seems like if they really wanted this to perpetuate, the best way to do it would be to leak this sort of information. Who's to say? It's definitely not from at least what we know, it doesn't seem like it's a fake call, because if it was, it would destroy Bloomberg's reputation, and Steve Witkoff would state that it's fake. So far, he hasn't, which I would assume then it seems like it's a true transcript. Let's see what else. Other people on the more so on the left, this guy with the Ukrainian flag in his bio says this is treason when an American businessman begins whispering to Kremlin officials that Ukraine must cede its land to appease Putin. That is not diplomacy. That is treason. According to the leak call transcript reported by Bloomberg, Steve Witkoff told a senior Russian official that Ukraine should participate in land swaps and hinted that the deal could be sold as achievable and optimistic. Witkoff made sure that Putin gets what he wants. This isn't just moral blindness. This is the active undermining of U.S. credibility, Western unity, and Ukraine's right to exist as a sovereign nation. Here are some quotes from Witkoff. Russia must retain control over parts of Donetsk. We cannot win messaging if it looks forward-looking. Ukraine should participate in land swaps. The deal could be framed as achievable and optimistic. Land swaps, sell that to the families murdered in Bucha, to the women tortured. I'm going to be honest, having a tough time pronouncing Ukrainian cities here. To the deported Ukrainian children Russia refuses to return. Messaging, tell that to the frontline soldiers fighting for their lives every day while Russian missiles rain down on Ukrainian cities. A U.S. citizen negotiating away Ukrainian land behind closed doors, not with Ukraine, but with the Kremlin. That is not diplomacy. It is collaboration. It is treason, and it puts American interests, global security, and millions of Ukrainian lives at risk. So you could tell people are pretty emotional and riled up about this. We'll see how things unfold moving forward. let's see if Glenn Greenwald gets to the point really quickly in this video. I'd be interested to hear what he has to say.
And before I get to that, I just want to set the context for it, which is that this is not the first time we've seen something like this happen. I think one of the most underappreciated events of the first term of President Trump, what was done to General Michael Flynn. As you may recall, President Trump named General Flynn his national security advisor in the transition. And the transition exists in order for the incoming administration officials to start transitioning into their jobs, not so that they don't distort.
Yeah, I'm going to forward to the middle and see if we get anything.
He used it to create a perjury indictment for General Flynn, and he was indicted over that and persecuted over that.
Okay, it's 13 minutes long, so we'll do it another day. So that's really everything I wanted to show you guys and show you in this video. I'm going to read some of the comments to see if you guys have any thoughts on this. Putin asked to join NATO. It's all rubbish. Yeah, I remember Putin asked to join NATO. Wasn't this back in the late 1990s? Correct me if I'm wrong there. I recently just found your channel and really appreciate you posing the truth. I've seen the pro-Israel propaganda for too many years. Thanks so much, Sean. I really appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, everybody. I'm about to head out now to a flight that I'm probably late to, so I should probably head out before I miss it. Hope you guys have a